All right, I want to say good afternoon to everyone, or good evening. So whether it's night or noon or afternoon, wherever you are, Dr. Jagede is my name again, and happy new month, the month of September. Okay, so what is cooking? For me, I work with organizations to add value. I create value with them. We work together to see how we can advance the frontiers of business activities and how we can make things better, particularly at a time like this when things are so hard and difficult and when we are confronted with one of the brutal experiences in business world. So I have a program on Good to Great. And over the years, I've been able to work with many organizations to deploy this facilitation. And it's a one-day program and it's titled Good to Great. So this is based on the book of Jim Colins. And we are examining how organizations can move from being good to great. What informed this concept? We reflect back to our economy when it was booming, back to the time when it was doing fine, and now to the time when we are actually faced with a lot of crisis. I mean, globally, it has nothing to do with it's Nigeria or it's across the world, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the world is greeted with quite a number of challenges. So, how do we advance our businesses? Research establishes that startups, more than 90% don't survive the first 3 years. And that's true. We've seen reports of CAC closing out so many registered businesses because they're no longer active. And we've seen the impact also on employment and bringing economy. So how do we support our businesses? The best way to support the economy is to support businesses. When we have businesses thriving, surviving, establishing, we'll have more employment opportunity. And that will reduce impact of social menaces and crime rates because people are employed, gainfully employed. So this month of September, I have this proposal. One day, interaction with your staff on Good to Great. We shall be examining a lot of principles that we need to look, in particular, startups, SMEs. If you're good, that's nice. You are having nice representation on the social media there, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. Oh, fine, you are making money, you are doing fine. That's good. But how do we advance? We studied the history of successful corporations, and I was looking into what happened in 19th centuries. And in 19th century, in fact, at the earliest part, in 1980s, we are having more Japanese corporations, on top Fortune 100, and gradually they were going down. And the Americans took over. And now we come back to Nigeria. In the 80s, in the 70s, most of the corporations and business that we used to know, most have gone into extinction and flew out of relevance. What does that suggest? We can be good, but how do we keep ourselves surviving in decades and in centuries? I did a research and then a presentation in 2019 in Italy on the corporate governance for family businesses and then SME. So I was moving around, checking from country to country, particularly Africa, and then even in Nigeria, South, East, West, North, Central. And I found that many of our businesses have not survived even half a century, except a lot of people that survived a century. Many of them, they did well in 1970s, in 1960s, in 1980s, in 1990s, and then they disappeared. What can we do? Just a little research here on Harlem Avenue in Kenya. From the beginning of Harlem to the end, we observe that most of the offices, shops, commercial centers that are currently there were not there 10 years ago. In fact, more than 90% of them were not there 20 years ago. What happened to those who were there in the 90s and the early 2000s? They've gone out of extinction. How do we build a surviving corporation? How do we help startups, SMEs to grow and to survive? In my years of experience working as OD consultant, we've moved deeply to examine the nucleus. You see, the nucleus of a corporation is quite different. You don't see nucleus ordinarily, even in plants and human beings. The DNA is not visible, but it's there. So the same way, every corporation has its own DNA and nucleus. They are not visible. And these are the areas where we need to look into on why corporations survive, why they don't survive. Similarly, just look at human beings. The physiological part of human being, you can see the hands and the legs and the eyes. They're there. You can't see the liver, but it's there. The kidney is there. It's also say, oh, this is me. Can't you see me? The liver won't shout, but it's there. But when something goes wrong in the inside, it has more weight and more impact than when it goes wrong on the outside. A man without legs can survive 100 years, 70 years. A man without arms can survive 80 years. A man without kidney cannot survive. A man without liver cannot survive. It tells you that the anatomy of the business is quite critical, even more important than on the external. So whatever social media says about us, our noise on LinkedIn, number of followers we have, number of brand, number of noise we make, they're nice, they're good, but they are not as important as our nucleus. So as we examine business nucleus, as we examine the processes, as we examine how things move, the flow of work, and as they build on the capabilities, we observe that when we build our system, our structure, our design, our forms well enough, and we respond to the shift in society, we'll be able to survive decades and centuries. In this September, I'll be pleased to speak with your team on good to great. Why some companies survive, why some companies thrive, why others don't thrive. I look forward to speaking with you, and I look forward to you engaging us and my team. You can reach us on those lines, and you can reach us on those email addresses. I will look forward to serving you and having an impactful session with your team. Bye-bye.